All right, we're going to do study guide starting at number 11. The graph as dash midline for 2 full cycle is shown. The 5 points are labeled. They already gave me the coordinates, so I went ahead and put the coordinates down. We're looking for the equation of this function, a and b and c and d value. All right, let's go. All right, always start with the midline at y equal to 3, so d value is going to be 3. Amplitude, the distance from the midline to the maximum. Folks, don't forget, don't mix up the x and y value. The midline, amplitude, all are the y values, right? So what's the distance from 3 to 7? The y value 3 to y value 7 is going to be 4. That means a is going to be 4 or -4. Remember, you have to give 2 options. Now let's talk. And then when the AP grading, remember a and d are the 1 point and b and c are the other point. So worst case scenario, at least find a and d. B has to do with the period of this function, so let's go ahead and find the period. Equal to, I start at the top, next time I hit the top. And period is the x value, so now we're looking at the x value. What's the distance from 0 to 12? 12. What's the formula for period? 2 pi over b. So now this helps me find the b value. Multiply b to both sides, divided by 12. I got pi over 6. So b is pi over 6. Now the c value, the shifting, you're moving left and right. Few things to keep in mind. This is the sine function. So what are we looking for? We are looking for the midline start. Okay? So I'm going to move my yellow tape, blue tape. When do I start at the midline? Not F, that's not the midline. I'm looking for the maybe point G. So if I were to use this G as a starting point, I can come up with the equation, which I'm going to write it over here. So if I use point G, starts at the midline, so it's a sine, but it goes down. So a value has to be what? Negative. So I'm going to use -4. Sine of, I'm copying it down, b is pi over 6. T plus c, I have no idea, that's what I'm looking for, and plus 3. So what's going to go over here? Notice now your starting point is at 3. So this is going to be t minus 3. Be careful, not t plus 3, t minus 3, since you're moving it 3 to the right. Is that the only case? No, you also have a midline starting again at k. So I can use this k point as a starting point. If you do, this time it starts from the midline going up. So a has to be positive. So let me write this one over here. So instead of 4, a has to be, instead of -4, a has to be positive 4. Sine of, I'm copying everything down. All right, you're moving 9 to the right. So it's going to be t minus 9. You do not have to give me both of them. You just need to give me either one of them. And that's good enough. One more. You could have added and subtracted. Where are we? Here it is. What? You could have added and subtracted in 12 here and still with the correct answer. But I think 99% of you will just give me one of these two. Okay? Alright, number 12. You do need a calculator. Okay, but you don't need decimal. So I'm going to just have my dirty calculator over here. I went over this in class with my hand students. Just going to be a review. Okay, so I'm going to draw a right triangle inside of a circle. There's my theta. That's the x, that's the y, that's the r value. Also in relation theta, there's adjacent side, there's a opposite side, there's a hypotenuse side. How do I find sine of theta, please? Sine of theta is, so, opposite over hypotenuse, y over r. On the unit circle, r value is a 1, that's why we say sine is the y value. But let's say this is not a unit circle. I'm going to multiply r to both sides. Then wouldn't I get y is equal to r times sine of theta? Yeah. All right. Let's repeat the same thing for cosine of theta. So ka. Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. Adjacent over hypotenuse, r. If it's a unit circle, r value would be 1. So cosine is x, but whatever. Multiply r to both sides. X is equal to r cosine of theta. You might as well as memorize this. Y is r sine of theta. X is r cosine of theta. What are we looking for? We are looking for x comma y. So let's find out what x is, let's find out what y is, and plug it in. What's the r value in our situation? On our question, r value is a 4. Cosine of, what theta are we using? Negative 11/12 the pi. So yes, you're just going to plug it in. That's all there is. R is 4. Sine of, what's the theta? Negative 11/12 the pi. I'm going to show you how to plug that in your calculator. This is in radians, so you need to make sure you go to, where we go? Mode, and number third line has to be in radian. Not degree, no, radian, and hit enter. And I'm going to plug it in 4 times sine of negative 11, pi is the second caret button, can't even see, sorry, second caret button, divided by 12. That's my y value, which is negative 1.0352. What about the x value? X value is 4 cosine of negative 11 pi, oh my, you know what? 4 cosine of negative 11 pi divided by 12. So x value is negative 3.8637. So putting it together, x comma y is negative 3.8637 comma negative 1.0352. There you go. Okay, so done with that. Now this one gets harder, doesn't it? The population of the trout in particular pond can be modeled by that function, defined by that. Based on this model, determine each of the following. Got it. All right. I don't like the way this is written because that's not the form that we've seen before. So I'm going to rewrite this as negative 1200 sine of 2 pi t plus 3000. I'm just going to put that 3000 at the end. Switch the order so that it's easy to see what's going on. All right. Few things. Do you see this is a sine function? Yes. So it has to start from the midline. Do you see this is negative a? So I am looking for starting at the midline, going down. I'm going to graph over here, folks. Okay, so there's your midline. Starting from the midline, going down and up. I'm just going to graph one cycle. That's it. Okay, where is the midline at? 3000. Amplitude is 1200, so the maximum will be 3000 plus 1200, 4200. The minimum value is going to be 3000 minus 1200, which is 1800. Are you good so far? The y-axis. Okay, now let's look at the x-axis together. Oh, should have caught it. Do you see there's no shifting left and right? So really, folks, I could have just moved this over here, and that's your 0 right there. Oops. Now let's find a period. Period is 2 pi over b. 2 pi over, what's the value of b? 2 pi. Oh, okay. Period is 1. Okay. All right. A quick thing on FRQ, which we're about to do later. If you know the period, we can divide the period by 4, and that's the each increment of how your x is increasing by on all your points there. So that's a 1, because the whole thing is a 1, and that will be quarter, half, 3/4, and 1. What is the maximum number of trout? 4,200. Minimum number of trout? 1,800. At what t-value does the maximum happen? Ooh, right here, 3/4. What t-value is the minimum happen? Right here at 1/4. Just gonna double check something quickly. Yep, that's it. Wait. Yep. Okay, next. This one. We did this in class. I noticed there's no shifting, yay. 0, 4. So this is the cosine function. 0, -4 is the maximum. 4, 4 is the minimum. That's impossible. I think this should be minimum. That should be maximum. changing up the problem. Alright, let's go. 0, comma, negative 4. 4, comma, 4. I think it should be this way. That's a 4. That's a 4. Negative 4. That's better. Alright, we're looking for A and D value. Oh, A and B value. Okay. Well, D value will be what midline? 0. So I guess D 0 if you care. A value is the amplitude. Distance from the midline to the max is going to be 4. So 4 or negative 4. We talk about how there's going to be no shifting. So really, you can put your tape at the 0 right here and talk about it. Start from the minimum. So it's a cosine. But instead of from the top, it's at the bottom. So A has to be what? Negative 4. Next, the period. Folks, the x value here is a 0. X value is 4. X value here will be 8. So period is 8. How do you find the period? 2 pi over b. So 8b is 2 pi. B is 2 pi over a. That is pi over 4. So a is negative 4. B is pi over 4. I'm going to make another video for effort.